Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to The Body Speaks. Are you listening? This is episode 14. Have you ever swallowed something you needed to say and felt it settled somewhere in your body? Not just emotionally, but physically. A tightness, a weight, a sensation in the chest or the upper belly that arrived without an obvious physical cause. Today, we are going to talk about where two of those most deeply held emotions actually live in the body and what they have been trying to tell you. My name is Susan. I'm a certified somatic trauma-informed coach, and the rest of my credentials are in the show notes below. I came to this work through my own healing journey, one that included nearly 4 decades in a relationship that asked more of me than it gave back, and a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis at age 27 that finally made me stop and listen. What I discovered changed everything. The body is not working against us. It is speaking for us. And when we give the nervous system the safety and the language and the tools it's been waiting for, healing becomes possible in ways that genuinely surprise you. I'm here because my deepest wish is to help the person I used to be, and anyone whose body has been speaking in symptoms while the mind keeps pushing through. And that is what The Body Speaks is all about. Last episode, we moved into the K's, kidney issues and knee problems, the fear beneath and the weight above. If that episode landed for you, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Today, we move into the L's, two conditions that ancient healing traditions have known about for thousands of years, and that modern research is only now beginning to confirm with the language of neuroscience: the liver and the lungs, anger and grief, the two emotions most consistently held in the body of someone who has spent years suppressing what was true for them. The liver is one of the most extraordinary organs in the human body. It performs over 500 known functions. 500, that's incredible. Filtering the blood, processing hormones, metabolizing everything we eat and drink, producing proteins essential for healing, and detoxifying the system continuously day and night without ever asking for a break. It is, in the truest sense, the body's greatest processor. Its job is to take in what is incoming, transform it into something the body can use or safely eliminate, and keep the system clean. And here is what I find most extraordinary about the liver. What it processes is not only physical. The liver processes cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. When we experience anger, frustration, or sustained emotional pressure, the HPA axis, the brain's stress response system, floods the body with cortisol, and the liver, as the body's chemical processing plant, has to deal with all of it. When the stress is acute, the liver manages. When the stress is chronic, when the anger has nowhere to go, when the frustration builds year after year without expression, the liver begins to carry the chemical residue of all that unexpressed emotion. The liver is quite the alchemist of the body, taking in not just toxins, but tempests, rage, resentment, frustration, and sorrow. It processes the emotions we never voiced, the truths we swallowed, and the boundaries that we let collapse. It filters the storm until it can't. Traditional Chinese medicine has known this for millennia. The liver is the organ of anger, not just the emotion, but the energy of anger. The forward-moving, boundary-setting, this is not okay energy that every human being carries, and that in healthy expression protects us and moves us toward what we need. When that energy cannot move, when the environment makes expressing it dangerous, or when we have learned that having anger is itself unacceptable, it stagnates, it pools, it becomes so stagnant. And modern research confirms what ancient medicine observed. Suppressed anger elevates inflammatory markers, dysregulates cortisol rhythms, and puts an enormous additional burden on the organ already doing the work of processing all of it. For many people who have lived in emotionally abusive or coercively controlling relationships, anger was not safe. Expressing it had consequences. Feeling it without expression had consequences also. And so it went somewhere else, into the tissue, into the chemistry, into a low-grade inflammatory state that medicine often treats at the system level without ever asking the deeper question. What has this body been holding, and for how long? And what has happened to you, not what is wrong with you? Louise Hay connects liver conditions to chronic complaining, justifying, fault-finding, and feeling bad. In the most compassionate reading of this, chronic complaining is often what happens when anger has no other outlet. When the things that needed to be said cannot be said directly, it leaks out like sideways. When boundaries cannot be enforced, resentment accumulates. The liver is carrying the weight of everything that was felt but not expressed, said but not heard, known but not spoken. I'd like you to think of the liver like the filter in a swimming pool. Its job is to keep the water clean, taking in what circulates through the system, catching what does not belong, and sending clean water back. In a well-maintained pool, the filter runs smoothly. But if you never clean the filter, if you keep adding things to the water that it was never designed to process at that volume, it gets clogged. The water gets cloudy. Things start to circulate that should have been cleared. The liver under chronic emotional stress is the clogged filter. It's not broken. It's overwhelmed. And what it needs is not more processing. It is the flow to begin again. In internal family systems, liver conditions are often connected to parts carrying decades of suppressed anger. Managers who learned early that anger was dangerous, and then we have firefighters who use indirect expression like chronic irritability or withdrawal because direct expression was never safe. Underneath both of those is almost always an exile, carrying a very old and very deep knowing that something was wrong and that nobody listened. So the question we're sitting with is, where in your life has anger been swallowed rather than spoken? Not the reactive kind, the honest, clear, this is not okay kind. The anger that was trying to protect you. Where did it go? Now let's talk about the chakra connection with the liver. That is connected to the solar plexus. And that governs personal power, will, and the right to take up space and be seen in one's full authentic expression. The liver sits in the solar plexus territory. Suppressed anger, suppressed personal power, and the chronic effort of maintaining a composed exterior while something is burning underneath. All of this accumulates in the solar plexus and expresses through the chemistry the liver is trying to process. The invitation would be to place your hand on your upper belly, your abdomen, just below the rib cage on the right. Breathe warmth into it 3 times and ask it honestly, what has this place been holding that was never allowed to become words to speak? The physiological mechanism linking chronic emotional stress to liver function is direct and well documented. The liver processes cortisol, which means that every activation of the stress response sends additional chemical load through this organ. Chronic HPA axis dysregulation from sustained emotional stress creates a continuous high cortisol state that the liver must deal with in addition to all its other functions. This drives inflammation throughout the system, including the liver tissue itself. Research confirms that anger suppression elevates inflammatory markers and autonomic stress response, the precise chemistry the liver is responsible for regulating. So think of it this way. The liver is trying to clean a room while someone keeps throwing more mess into it. The cleaning never catches up. The inflammation just keeps accumulating. The organ that was designed to flow becomes too stagnant. Every somatic practice that activates the parasympathetic nervous system and reduces cortisol load is reducing the chemical burden the liver is carrying. That is not a small thing. That is addressing it at the root. So liver conditions, particularly when persistent or when they arise alongside a history of chronic stress and emotional suppression, often they carry a life lesson about expression, specifically about learning to give anger its legitimate, healthy, chosen voice. Not the reactive explosion that comes after years of suppression, but the clean, clear, honest expression of a boundary that needed to be spoken. The recurring question is, what has been burning inside without being allowed to become sound? And what would it mean to begin, not necessarily to the person who caused the suppression, but perhaps to a journal or a therapist or a trusted space to finally let the anger move through rather than accumulate? Learning to connect with what your body is telling you is always the first step. The liver responds well to foods that support its detoxification pathways. Vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, beets, garlic, and turmeric. Reducing alcohol and processed food reduces the physical processing burden. And the emotional and somatic practices throughout this series address liver health at the level where much of it is strained actually and where it originates, in the chronic stress chemistry driven by unexpressed emotion and an overactivated nervous system. Now let's talk about lung conditions. The lungs are the first and last thing the body does. We arrive in the world with a breath. We leave it when the breath stops. Everything in between is sustained by the continuous, rhythmic, mostly unconscious movement of air in and out of these two organs that sit at the center of the chest, expanding and contracting thousands of times a day without us ever having to remember to ask them. Breathing is the one function of the autonomic nervous system that is also under voluntary control. We cannot consciously choose to digest food or regulate our heart rate, but we can choose how we breathe, or more accurately, we can interrupt our breathing patterns consciously. And this bidirectional relationship between the breath and the nervous system makes the lungs uniquely positioned as both a symptom and a solution in the landscape of emotional health. Grief sits on the chest. That's not a metaphor. It is a physiological description. Anxious or grieving people breathe shallowly and rapidly, drawing air into the upper chest rather than the diaphragm. The old image of grief sitting on the chest describes something real. And when that grief is not processed, when it accumulates without expression over months and even years, the breath pattern becomes the default. The body learns to breathe small. Traditional Chinese medicine identifies the lungs as the organ of grief, and the pairing is exact. Grief is the emotion of loss, and what was and is no longer. It is of the relationship that was supposed to be safe. It was of the years that passed inside something diminishing. of the version of yourself that you lost somewhere along the way and are only beginning to grieve now. The research confirms that chronic emotional stress worsens respiratory symptoms. Unresolved grief creates measurable declines in physical health markers over time. People who do not process painful experiences show changes in respiratory mechanics. The diaphragm becomes restricted, breathing shortens and stays in the upper chest, and the body gradually learns to breathe in a way that keeps it contracted and armored against the feeling it is still trying to avoid. And there is a personality pattern associated with chronic lung conditions that I find deeply resonant for this community. What researchers describe as the lung person, the person who tends to be shy, to lack confidence, to feel fragile, to avoid confrontation, to be afraid of taking up too much space. The person who might withdraw into their shell, like a turtle retreating into its ribcage. The person whose breath has been small for a very long time because they learned in very specific circumstances that taking up space with their breath, with their voice, with their presence was not entirely safe. I'd like you to think of the lungs like an accordion. The instrument works by expanding fully and contracting fully. The full range of motion is what produces the music. When someone plays an accordion with only small, restricted movements, the sound that comes out is like thin and incomplete. The instrument is not broken. It is not being allowed to fully open. Grief that sits in the lungs does the same thing to the breath. The lungs can still function, but they are not expanding fully. The breath stays small and high in the chest, and the music, the full resonant aliveness of a person breathing completely, is muffled. Learning to breathe into the full depth of the lungs is not just a physical practice. It is an act of reclaiming your space, and it begins gently, one breath at a time. Lung conditions that include asthma, chronic cough, bronchitis, recurrent respiratory infections, and the persistent shortness of breath that does not quite match the physical findings, these are often the body's faithful expression of grief that's been constricting the chest for years. Not always. There are genuine structural and allergic causes for respiratory conditions that deserve proper medical attention, but alongside those physical realities, the emotional picture deserves to be explored with the same seriousness. In internal family systems, lung conditions are often connected to exiles carrying the specific grief of what was lost, not always through death, but through the slower, quieter losses, like the loss of a version of yourself, the loss of the relationship you needed, the loss of years. And the managers who learn to breathe small and stay quiet and take up less space because fullness, full breath, full voice, full presence had consequences in the environment where the pattern was formed. The question we're sitting with is, where in your life has grief been held without being released? Not the dramatic grief that announces itself, the quiet grief. The grief for the person you were before, for the time that passed inside something diminishing, for the breath you stopped taking all the way in, and when exactly did that begin? The chakra connection is the heart and throat chakras. The heart chakra governs love and grief, compassion, and the capacity for genuine connection. The lungs sit within the heart chakra territory. When grief is held in the chest, when the armor around the heart is thick with unexpressed sorrow, the lungs are living inside that same contracted, protected space. Opening the heart chakra and releasing the breath are not two separate practices. They are the same practice. And the throat chakra governs expression, the voice, the words, the sounds that carry what is true from the inside to the outside. Grief that has never found expression, that has been held silently, perhaps for years, often accumulates at the junction of the throat and the chest. The sigh that keeps arriving unbidden, the tightness that shows up before a difficult conversation, the voice that gets quiet in certain company. The invitation is to take the deepest breath you can right now, all the way to the bottom of your lungs. Feel your ribcage expand sideways and notice, did something resist? Was there a moment where your breath wanted to stop before it was complete? That's information. That is the body showing you where it is still holding on to something. The vagus nerve is the primary pathway of the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and restore branch. Physically connects the lungs to the brain's emotional processing centers. It's not a metaphor, it's anatomy. The breath and the emotional brain are on the same circuit. I'm going to say that again. Your breath and your emotional brain are on the same circuit. When grief activates the stress response, the sympathetic nervous system drives breathing into the upper chest, shallow and rapid and incomplete. This shallow breathing then feeds back into the stress response, deepening it. Think of it like a loop. Grief constricts the breath. Shallow breathing signals threat to the nervous system. The nervous system maintains the stress state, which keeps the breath restricted. The way to interrupt this loop is through the breath itself, the extended exhale. You know how many times you're feeling anxious and someone probably says to you, okay, take a slow, deep breath. Well, the reason they're saying that is because it breaks the system. It changes direction. It starts to teach your body to go into a different relaxation mode. It directly activates the vagus nerve in the parasympathetic system. This is why the slow, complete exhale is one of the most powerful nervous system tools available. That is why I often say, take a nice, slow, deep breath in through your nose and a much longer exhale out, because that is activating the vagus nerve. It's not used as a quick fix, but it is used as a consistent, repeated message to the body, telling it the emergency is over. You're allowed to breathe fully. You are allowed to take up space. Now, when lung conditions persist and when they are accompanied by a history of grief held without expression, it often carries a life lesson about allowing, specifically about learning to allow emotion to move through rather than accumulating in the tissue. The recurring question is, what grief has been sitting in your chest without ever being given breath? And what would it mean to begin, slowly and safely with support, to let it move? Not to perform grief, not to manufacture emotion, but to give what is genuinely there the simple permission to be felt, to be breathed through and gently released. The lungs were designed to move. Grief was designed to pass through. Both need the same thing, enough safety to open and release. Learning to connect with what your body's telling you is always the first step. Lung health responds to practices that genuinely expand respiratory capacity, diaphragmatic breathing, gentle movement that opens the chest, spending time in nature with fresh air. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce airway inflammation, and the somatic practices throughout this series, particularly the extended exhale and the vagus nerve breath, address lung health at the level of the nervous system loop that is driving so much of what the symptoms are expressing. The liver and the lungs, anger and grief, two of the most human emotions there are. Two of the most consistently suppressed emotions in people who have lived in environments where expressing what was true had consequences. two organs faithfully reporting on the emotional weather of a life that had been asked for more than it was receiving. The anger that was swallowed was trying to protect you. The grief that was never breathed through was trying to heal you. Both of them were doing their jobs faithfully, and both of them are still available, not as the enemy, not as the wound, not as the victim, but as information, as the body's most honest account of what it has been living inside. And God, the universe, your creator, source, whatever you refer to, is the intelligence that placed anger in you as a signal for violated boundaries, and grief in you as the pathway through loss. That intelligence did not make a mistake. These emotions are not character flaws. They are the most precise communication system you own. And the healing of the liver and the lungs begins in the same place, in finally listening to what they have been saying, giving it expression, and breathing the long exhale of someone who no longer has to hold what was never theirs to hold forever. Your body has always been on your side. Now, if you're ready, let's begin your guided meditation. Find a comfortable position, both feet flat on the floor. If you can, one hand resting on your upper abdomen over your liver, and the other hand resting on your chest over your lungs. And if you can, close your eyes and take one breath in and let it go all the way out, all the way until the lungs are genuinely empty. And then let the next breath arrive on its own. I'd like you to notice the quality of your breath right now, not to change it yet, just to feel where it lands. Notice if it's in your upper chest. Does it reach your belly? Is there anywhere it seems to stop before it's complete? Now let's acknowledge the parts of you that have been carrying the anger and the grief, the ones that have been filtering and holding and storing so that everything else could keep functioning. One simple acknowledgement. Let it know, I see what you have been carrying, and I'm here now, and we are going to do something different. Now take in a deep breath in through your nose and a nice, long exhale through your mouth. Make it nice and slow. Feeling your shoulders drop and your jaw releasing. And now I'd like you to bring to mind an image that represents what's been held. It might be something specific, a memory, a face, a situation, or it might be more abstract, a color, a texture, or even a shape. Let whatever comes up arise naturally. This is the held anger. See what it looks like. The accumulated grief. Notice it. The things that were swallowed. Notice all the qualities. How large is the image in your mind? How close does it feel? Does it have a color? Does it have weight, texture, or even a temperature? Now deliberately change one quality at a time. Let's start by pushing the image in your mind further away from you. Looking through your own eyes in your mind, watch it shrink as it moves into the distance. If there's any color, just drain the color from it. Let it fade from whatever it was to almost gray. And now know that you have a dial where you can control some of the volume and some of the contrast in this image. So turn down that contrast until it looks like an old photograph that has faded in the sun, old and distant, belonging to something that was real and is no longer required for you to carry. In your mind's eye, notice there's a big swish of wind moving this faded photograph further and further away from you. Let it go. You easily can let it go, knowing you've held on to it longer than needed. It's beginning to fade away. Now feel what happens in your body as this image fades and dissolves. Notice any type of shift in your body because it's real. That's your body releasing. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and a nice, slow, long exhale through your mouth. Now in this space that has opened up, build something new. The version of you who has given the anger its voice. The version of you that's allowed the grief to move through. I want you to see her first. What does she look like? As if you're looking in a mirror, looking through your own eyes at this image. Notice her posture. There's something different about the chest. It is open rather than armored with all this metal protecting it. The shoulders have dropped away from the ears. She's taking up her actual space, not performing ease, but genuinely inhabiting it. Now notice her breath. Watch her breath as you look in the mirror. Your lungs are moving fully, expanding sideways, all the way to the bottom. The accordion is fully open. Each breath goes all the way in and all the way out, without anything stopping it before it's complete. Now go ahead and allow yourself to step inside this mirror. Step inside into her. Become her. See through her eyes. As if you're looking down at your hands and looking down at your body. And feel the breath from the inside. Feel the sensation of air filling the very bottom of the lungs. Your rib cage expands outward. Your diaphragm dropping with the inhale. Feel the warmth in the upper belly where the liver sits. Not tightness of held chemistry, but the warmth of an organ that has finally been given your permission to flow freely. And breathe. And now hear her voice when she speaks what is true. what does it sound like? Not the careful, edited, managed version, but the genuine one. Notice the quality of it, the steadiness, the warmth, the fact that it arrives from a body that is fully breathing. Now, in this beautiful state that your body is in, your posture is confident and strong. Bring to mind a situation in the near future, real or imagined, where this version of you is needed, where the anger needs to speak clearly, where the grief needs to be breathed through rather than held. Go ahead and set the scene with all your senses. See the space. Feel the atmosphere. Notice what you smell, what you hear, the quality of the air. And as this version of you, the one with open lungs and a liver that is flowing rather than storing, go ahead and move easily through that scene. And notice how differently your body responds. Your breath does not catch. Your chest does not armor. Your voice arrives from a full body rather than a contracted one. Now go ahead and run it one more time. The scene. The open breath, the warmth in the abdomen, your voice grounded and clear and honest, and your body not holding back. And as you're doing this and feeling the amazing strength within you, press your thumb and forefinger together gently on your dominant hand. I want you to feel the pressure of this, because this is your anchor, the physical signal that will call this version of you forward whenever the old pattern of holding wants to return. Whenever you feel the breath catching or the abdomen tightening, you will press your thumb and forefinger together, and you will instantly remember this scene where you are feeling confident and breathing easily and letting your liver flow freely. Now breathe into your lungs one final time, all the way in, the accordion fully open, and a slow, complete exhale, twice as long as the inhale. You're activating your vagus nerve, and you're signaling the nervous system, I am safe. I can breathe fully, and I am allowed to take up this space. I am enough, and I am worthy. Now speak this quietly to the intelligence within you, to God, your creator, the universe, to source. I am giving my liver permission to release what it has been storing. I'm giving my lungs permission to breathe fully. I am giving my anger a voice and my grief a breath. The holding is now becoming a flowing. And my body, my faithful, brilliant, always on my side body, is now believing it. Now you can release the anchor, and let's take one final breath all the way in and a long, long exhale out. And when you're ready, you can bring yourself back to the present time gently and gratefully and open your eyes. Today we talked about the liver and the lungs, anger and grief, two of the most faithfully held emotions in the body. Two organs that have been doing the work of processing what the emotional world could not safely put down anywhere else. The filter that kept running even when it was full. The accordion that kept playing even when only half open. They've always been on your side. And now finally, they are being heard. In the next episode, episode 15, we continue through the L's, the lymphatic conditions and Lyme's disease. Two more conditions with a rich emotional story underneath. You can find me here every week. I offer other series, The Soul Whispers, Coming Home to You, and The Language of Healing. If something was named today for you with your liver or lungs and helped you understand it better, but you'd like to go deeper, I offer one-to-one sessions. You can find the information in the show notes below. Remember, the doctor dresses the wound, and the infinite intelligence within you does the rest of the healing. Before you go, I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know, did the liver or lungs speak to something you recognize today in your body? I read every comment, and your words shape what comes next in this series. If The Body Speaks is helping you understand yours, well, I hope you subscribe if you haven't already, so that you never miss an episode. Please leave a thumbs up if today helped you, and share this with one person whose body has been asking for their attention. Your body has always been on your side. Till next week, love and hugs.